so we can edit this part of the video out. I'm moving my hands because I'm thinking of other things to say. So we're gonna edit all of this out, make the video shorter, okay? All right, so. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Just coming at you with a new one, just a little update on what's been going on, just like always. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you like it, that like button down below. If you don't like it, thumbs down, whatever, it doesn't matter. And if you like, definitely subscribe to the channel. I do talk about all things going on in trucking. I've been trucking for I think about 4 years since I got my CDL. I went to CDL school and did all that, and been trucking ever since. Had a few different adventures which I cover in some of my past videos. I currently drive for an owner-operator leased on to a container company pulling containers out of the port in Savannah, Georgia. Well, it just seems that things just keep getting better and better. I'm glad that I sold this thing when I did, and I'm glad that it is somebody else's headache now and it's not mine. Okay, so with that being said, if it were mine, these headaches probably wouldn't have been as bad as they are. So what are you gonna do? So last week I blew 3 shocks on the back of this truck, busted them off of their mounts, and blew an airbag. Now, why did that happen? So apparently I had a bad load leveling valve, which is on the back of your truck, next to the front axle. There's a little bar that drops down, connects to the frame, and it's connected to a little bar that pivots up and down, and basically tells your airbags how full to be when you have a load on. So when you have a load on, it'll go down. It'll tell your airbags at what level to be at. When you're empty, it'll go up, if I have that correct, and it'll tell your airbags how full or empty to be. So that was bad on my truck. We knew that was bad. It was causing a rough ride. It was constantly leaking air. You could just hear it all the time. So I took Thursday and Friday off of work to take this to the shop to have it fixed. The owner of my truck had bought the part. He was going to take it by there. I was going to get it fixed. It was probably going to be in there Thursday and Friday, so I took those 2 days off. So Thursday rolls around. He doesn't have it lined up for me to get it into the shop. So I missed that day of work. Friday rolls around and he's like, just bring it over to my house. I'll fix it over here. Which is what he likes to do a lot. I guess saving money, whatever. So I take it to his house and he thinks that he can just fix the load leveling valve that's on there. It's apparently just not leveling out right. So he rigs it up and knocks the hammer on that bottom bracket to try to raise the bar up, and that was a bug, sorry. So he's like, well, just hang on to the new load leveling valve, and if it gives you any more problem, we'll put it on, and if it doesn't, we'll take it back. So again, I think just him trying to save a buck, but whatever. So the next time I get a load, I hear it back there leaking again. So I go back there and it is completely broken off. The bottom mount that little bar attaches to is completely separated. So I try to zip tie it all back in place, and I go up, I deliver my load for the day, I'm headed home, and it just starts driving like crap. So I pull over on the side of the road, I go back there. 3 of the 4 shocks have busted completely off of their mounts, and I hear air. It's not coming from the load leveling valve as much anymore. It's coming from one of the airbags. So I get up under the truck and I look, and where the airbag tucks up under to connect to the mount, there's a hairline bust in it, and it's leaking air. So I get it home. I'm probably about 30 miles from the house. I turn on my flashers, get it home, and call and tell him that now he's got a bigger problem. So what was initially a load leveling valve that needed to be changed turned into 3 shocks being replaced and a busted airbag being replaced. And so the next week I ended up missing 2 more days of work. I can't win for losing. My truck still has a shaking problem that it always has. It's not quite as bad as it was, but my front steer tires are still only lasting about 6 months before they're completely beat out with hills and valleys, and they need to be replaced. So in February, when I was over at XPO, I was right outside of the port going about 35 miles an hour, and my passenger side steer tire blows out. It's not too scary because I was going so slow, but it did pull me off to the side of the road, and there's like 0 shoulder to this road. It's a little small road that goes into the port. It's like a little patch of grass and then ditch. So I had to get the truck off on this little space between the road and the ditch, and my trailer was still out in traffic, so they were having a one-way around me, the end of my trailer, and I mean, it was just a disaster. But I did get it replaced and got back going again. Since then, I've had to replace the driver's side steer tire, and just recently, well, not just recently, the past month or so, the passenger side steer tire has started to beat out again. All kind of dips and valleys. Just cannot figure out what's going on with this truck. I've had it aligned, all 3 axles. They've checked the kingpins, the bushings, the hubs. Just everything that can be checked has been checked, and it just still shakes like crazy. Not like crazy anymore. Once that pattern starts to wear in the tire, then it starts shaking bad. Until that happens, it's all right. And it seems that the tires seem to wear on the outside for a long time, probably about 4 or 5 months. They just wear on the outside, not shaking really bad. It's not terrible, but they wear on the outside. And then all of a sudden, they start to wear them dips and patterns in really fast. And when that happens, it does start to shake really bad. So I've let the owner of my truck now know about this for the past month or so, that passenger side steer tire is getting the hills and valleys, and it's going to need to be replaced. Put it off. Yesterday, I'm headed to get my load for the day, which did not get delivered yesterday. I'm about to tell you why. I'm here delivering it today. So that's another day's worth of work that I missed. So I'm headed down 16, headed to Savannah, and I hear pow! And it sounds like a tire blew out, but I don't feel it. So I pull over immediately. I get out, I look at all my tires, they're fine. I get out, I knock all my tires. They all are inflated. So I'm like, that was a tire. I know the sound of a tire blowing out. I've had these problems for too long. I know that's a tire. So I'm looking, and I know that I'm having problems with that tire, so I give it a good look over. I'm feeling around the inside, and I feel something that ain't right. I get up under there, look, and it has blown out the inside wall of the tire, but just the top portion of rubber, like it lost its structural integrity or something. I don't know, but it's blown that out. But it hasn't blown past the wire or the inner. It hasn't lost pressure. It's still inflated. I can't hear it leaking any air. I put the gauge on it. It's maintaining. So I turn my flashers on. I'm about 10 miles from the truck stop where I get my oil changes and all done anyway. And they have a tire shop. And I'm like, if I can just, no, I'm sorry, I was about 20 miles away. So I'm like, if I can just get it there, you know, I won't lose that much time. They could patch it up real quick. I was running about an hour early, so I might be about 30 minutes late for my stop. No big deal. You put a new tire on and I can get going. So I call the owner of the truck and tell him, and he's like, well, I'm down here he's down there at that same truck stop. He's like, I'm down here getting an oil change right now. I'll just go ahead and pay for it all. And he said, send me your tire size. I'll go ahead and have it all ready. So I did all that, and I was like, well, that was convenient at least. Made it about, turned my flashers on, pulled back out on the road. It was going about 35 miles an hour just in case it did blow out completely, you know, it wouldn't be dangerous. So I'm back on the road. I'm about 10 miles away at this point, and the tire goes out. So I didn't make it. So I call him and tell him, and he said, well, they just loaded up their truck going out to work on somebody else's truck, so it's going to be a while. So I sat there for 3 hours before somebody showed up, and when they did show up, it was no time. They had it done, and the guy tells me, hey, the guy that paid for this didn't pay for us to take your tire, so you're either going to have to take your tire or pay me $15 to take it. So had to fork out 15 bucks. I didn't have anywhere to put it. So anyway, lost my load for that day. Well, I ended up going and getting the load, and I'm just delivering it today. I lost out technically on my load for today, which they already had me dispatched on. I had to call and tell them, hey, whatever you want me to do, if you want me to still take this load, I'll take it, and it'll just be a day late, or you can reassign this load and I'll take the load that I was already dispatched on. But they gave the load I was dispatched on to somebody else and kept me on this one, so no big deal. This one paid more anyway. So yeah, it's just been one thing after the other. It's gotten to the point where my family, wife is suggesting that I go back to being a company driver. It's not without me mentioning it myself. I've mentioned it myself because sick time, personal time, insurance. I have something called Crohn's disease, which is a chronic, very painful, very problematic disease, especially for a truck driver, if you know what Crohn's disease is. And I need to be in the doctor frequently. It costs me a lot of money because I don't have insurance. I've actually been kicked out of a GI practice recently because I'm self-pay. Tried to get into another one. They wouldn't accept me because I'm self-pay. So I'm in between and having to go to another one now that I have an appointment with in December. So it would be nice to have some insurance by that time, because, you know, procedures and all that kind of stuff can get really expensive. So, you know, I know that at companies like that, you get paid by the mile or you get paid percentages. I've looked at a couple of different ones. Some local trucking companies, fairly large, maybe 70, 80 tractor capacity trucking companies around the middle Georgia area. I've looked into a couple of those. They have some pretty sweet deals, you know, home every other night, just running Georgia, things like that, you know, benefits, just all kind of stuff that I don't have now. Basically, the battle is giving up independence. Giving up independence for being told what to do and where to go. It may sound like a no-brainer, but honestly, that's tough to give up. Once you do it, it's tough to give up. You know, I mean, if I need to take a week off, I just take a week off, you know. But I don't make any money. If I break down on the side of the road, I don't make any money. If I lose my load for that day, I don't make any money. You know, these companies, and driving as a company driver, you get breakdown pay, you get layover pay, which I get layover pay here. I just have to split it with my owner now. But I do get layover pay if I'm at a customer for more than 4 hours. So, you know, little things like that just add up. And it's just, it's a hard battle with yourself to figure out what you want to do. Because you can have all of these benefits and you can have all these great things, but if you're not happy, at least speaking for me, if I'm not happy, I'm not going to stick in there. It's just not, it's not in my blood. I'm not somebody that's going to stay doing something that I'm miserable doing for the rest of my life. And I'm by no means miserable doing this. It's the best job I've ever had. It's the best gig I've ever had. It's just the breakdowns and the unforeseen events that stop you from making money makes this profession so unsteady. It's so unsteady. 1 week I can make $1,100. Next week make $1,200. And then the next week make $500, and then the next week make $600. It's just, there is no stability in it at all. And if you're counting on something and saying, okay, well, my lifestyle demands that I make at least $900 a week, and you try to say, okay, well, that's an average, I should be okay with that. But then you spend the next 3 weeks making $500 because all this crap's going on with your truck and you're not getting any kind of compensation for it that you may get at a company, then it just doesn't, you really can't do it. I'm really having a hard time pulling it off. I was doing better when I owned the truck, and that's just, it was worrisome. My blood pressure was up a lot. Not technically, but you know, just it felt like it was. But in the end, it was always there. The money was always there. You know, I always had the money to pay my truck payment. I always had money to make any repairs that I needed. I might not think that I would, but even if I had a really bad week, I always had enough to cover what I needed. You know, if my truck payment was due and I had a really bad week the week before, I still made at least $1,300 to make my truck payment, you know? So it is what it is. But just thought I'd get on here and holler at y'all for a minute and rant and vent. And if anybody's got any suggestions, if anybody's done both, let me know. You know, I mean, I'm open to suggestions. If anybody has been an independent contractor and been a company driver, let me know how y'all feel about it in the comments. Let's talk about it. So anyway, it's good to be on here talking to you guys again, and we'll see you in the comments. Thanks a lot, guys. Take it easy.